pro-choice in U.S. public philosophy. Martin talked a little bit ago about the public dimension of pro-life. Rawls' Justice book is based on fairness. Legal equality belongs to all sovereign, individual, autonomous, rights-bearing beings. That's a lot of noise, but it's also the groundwork of the liberal philosophy of pro-choice. If you're not a fully grown person or a fully operating person with all your capacities intact, you are not a rational, autonomous, rights-bearing being. You can be dequalified, you can be disqualified, you can be kicked out, you can be reclassified, made into something less. And they do have this that we have to deal with. They start from an intuition that a blastocyst and a fully grown human being are not the same thing. That's an intuition, and they go from there. Pro-choice and practice. Griswold, everybody knows about Roe v. Wade. Most people have forgotten about the Griswold decision. 1965. Supreme Court of the United States, Planned Parenthood, Connecticut, legalized contraception everywhere in the U.S. Until 1965, it was illegal. Contraception was illegal. Where did they find a place to anchor it? This is important. Why? Because the Supreme Court reuses it when it does Roe v. It discovers it here and reapplies it in Roe v. It legalized contraception everywhere in the U.S. on the basis of a privacy right that they discovered in the Bill of Rights and in the 14th Amendment. Here's where the historians come in. Wait a minute. The 14th Amendment was a Reconstruction thing put in the Constitution to protect rights of blacks in the South, where they didn't protect those rights. Well, in the hands of the Supreme Court, what does it become? A way to say, you have a protected right to privacy. It's not specific, not specifically in the Bill of Rights or in the 14th Amendment, but it's in the penumbras, the zones of things that can be gotten to from those pieces of law. Later, Roe v.'s basis of why you have the right to privacy. Preborn states, you know more about this than I do. I just want to say enough to be able to make the points that I have to make. A fertilized egg, you know, I have discussions about this with biologists all the time. They tell me I'm way off base. And I said, well, tell me how to do it right. And they say, no, you're too dumb. You can't get it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay. A fertilized egg becomes, those are gametes, an egg and a sperm are gametes, they become a zygote. It's one cell. One cell. And yet, there are people crazy enough to say, if it's from the moment of conception, one cell. It's only one cell, but it's biologically unique and genetically complete. It's not really a fertilized egg. They've gotten through to me on this one. The egg and the sperm die together, and they produce something brand new that's a one-celled organism. biologically and genetically unique and complete. We say that has value. Pro-choice people say human organism. All right. The rest of that. Here's a college professor, just finished grading all those exams and papers. We'll call him Dave. He wants to relax on the beach with a nice cold drink, suntan lotion. He must have some kind of speakers in his hat because he can't see that there is a steamroller about to roll over him and crush his head. Poor Dave. What is most of Tully's argument about to? What happens to Dave after that crushing of his head? Who is he? What is he? What's his identity? What's his memory? Does he have any memory of who he used to be? Does he have any idea of who he is? Does he have a right to life? Does he want a right to life? Would that even make sense to him? Would it be ungenerous of me to point out, hey, first of all, why would there be a steamroller? Second of all, why would you allow sunbathers to be anywhere near a steamroller that was on the beach? Third, why would there be doctors waiting there to hook me up to life support on the beach? You know? Anyway, science fiction. Scenario 1. The steamroller rolls over my head, crushing it. Crushing my brain. But the nearby doctors immediately connect me to life support, so breathing and circulation can go on as if nothing happened. Do I have a right to life? Do I know who I am? Any idea who I used to be? Any idea who I am now? Any idea who I want to be? What I want to be? Whether I have a right to anything? Scenario 2 is a little less catastrophic. The steamroller still gets me. It only damages my upper brain. You know, memory, identity, and thinking habit. What am I now? Who am I now? Notice what Tully says about it in scenario 1. Most everyone agrees disconnecting life support is appropriate. Again, he doesn't put a citation in it, show where he got that. Who are these most everyone's that he's talking about? Does he take polls among his students older? Does he take polls at the American Philosophical Association? The atheist section meeting? I don't know. In the second case, almost nobody objects. No life support because, you know, it doesn't matter whether the doctors are there on the beach ready to reconnect me or not. I don't need it. It's just that I have no memory of me, no identity, no way to know who I am, whether I have a right to life. Should I want a right to life? Could I want a right to life? And here's the laundry list of the questions. If you're seriously damaged, will you still be you? Will you know you are you? Will others know you are you? Will you have a right to life? Will you want a right to life? Will others want you to have a right to life? Others want you to have a right to life. Maybe I still want to carry on even after impression. And you say, I can't teach anymore, throw them out. Will you want others run over by steamrollers on the beach? So, I mean, these are actually parts of this argument. Okay. Anyway. Here's where we get into the science fantasy. We're moving beyond science fiction. But you gotta admit, science fiction, to imagine somebody could survive having their head crushed by a steamroller and having medical people right there on the beach to fix it. You know. Now we go into a whole different level. Science fantasy. Future medical technology, they think, will make possible all of these things. Number one, very quickly regrowing a head. Poor Dave lost his head. We'll just get him a new one. Reconnect it right away. Very quickly regrowing brains. Brain got damaged, we'll just replace it. Very effectively connecting heads and brains, very effectively connecting new heads and brains with old bodies. Maybe I'd get a better brain. It might be a deal. Just think about that for a minute. How many neural connections are there inside your brain? How many blood vessel connections? How many other things that would have to be able to be managed and do it right? And if they got the connections mixed up, and you know, this is their science fantasy future. I'm not looking forward to it. So, now we're at. I'm reading the exact part of this thing when I'm playing with my grandson, where I'm thinking, do carrots have a right to life? And there's my grandson. I'm thinking, has Michael Tully ever seen a child? Does he ever even, does he know they're on the planet? Do carrots have a right to life? You probably know where we're headed. Would E.T., yes, that E.T. E.T. phone home, that guy. He actually talks about it. If somebody from another planet came and they had all the things that they have to be considered as performers, then they would have a right to life under Tully's philosophy. They may not look just like us, act just like us, you know. But if they can do all those things, this little list of things, and every philosopher has their own little list of things. Would other extraterrestrials have a right to life? Would a futuristic brain transplant, your brain attached to a different body, result in you? Would you know yourself? How? Would anyone else know you as you? How would they? Would you, prior to reconnection, want your life to go on after reconnection? More Tully syllogisms. To answer yes to a right to life for any of those things, the carrot, any extraterrestrial, anybody who's had their brain smashed by a steamroller. Number one, we'd have to agree they are conscious. You can get anybody to agree that a one-cell organism is conscious. Try it out on scientists you know. I haven't been very successful so far. Number two, we'd have to agree they possess an enduring identity. They know who and what they are. They know that they used to be this, and now they're this, and that projecting into the future, they'll probably continue to be that into the future. We'd have to agree they have connected memories, rationality, and want a right to life. We'd have to agree they act purposely. Why are they always doing it? Why are they always exempting, removing people from consideration? You're not a performer. You've had your brain pressure. You haven't had your new one attached yet. You're an extraterrestrial. The being has to have had, or is now having, actual experiences. It has to be a persisting subjective experiences that can exist at different times. You can't just have a transient experience now and then never have another one and say, no, you don't have a right to like this. No. A being whose experiences and mental states from different times are connected. Yeah, I used to be this, I'm this now. That post-brain crushing will be that. Psychological connections must involve conscious thoughts. If you don't have all that, if you don't have all the performance characteristics, sayonara. But it does create something of a trap for them. If you're going to say it's performance, why not infanticide? Why limit it to just the preborn? Why not assign the same performance test to the postborn and say it's okay to get rid of them? If they don't need them, if their brain is crushed on the beach. Are there philosophers out there raising that issue? There are at least one of them, Peter Singer, Princeton University, speaking of our finest institutions. They're not arguing in favor of infanticide, but they're raising the issue. If you're going to take a performance approach to this, you have to be able to perform. If you fail to perform, you're expendable. So why would it make any difference whether it's pre-exiting the birth canal or post-exiting? How long into actual life do you have to get before you meet all the performance criteria in order to have a right to continue to live? And my favorite, transhumanists. These are people who are actually saying things like this in respectable academic journals right now. And someday humans will be essentially motherboards. And we'll be able to replace everything. And replace means improve. You're not as bright as you want to be. We'll switch a module. Make it bright. You want to be better looking. We'll plug in a transistors. Still in the area of science fantasy as far as I'm concerned. Well, right to life, carrots, not unless they can perform. E.T., not unless they can perform. E.T. or other extraterrestrials, not unless they can perform. Poor Dave. Brain, body, head transplant, not unless you can perform, not unless you can claim you still know who you were, you're still who you are, you're still going to be who you are in the future, and all of that other list of things you have to jump, all the hoops that you have to jump through in order to earn the performance rating. There's a bigger public philosophy issue here. I still am from justify one of the people with legal and historical treatment started to make it happen instead of go justify her. Supreme Court of the United States, everybody knows about Roe v. Wade. Pay attention to Casey, Governor Robert Casey of Pennsylvania versus Planned Parenthood. Here's what the Supreme Court said. At the heart of liberty is the right to define one's own concept of existence, of meaning, of the universe, of the mystery of human life. So far, so good. we have a package deal called theological anthropology. So far, so good. Uh-oh, what next? Beliefs about these matters would not define the attributes of personhood were they formed under the compulsion of the state. If the United States said, we now in the United States have an official theological anthropology, an official view of humans and whatever. And everybody in the United States must believe that, no matter whether you're Muslim, Hindu, atheist. Where are we? Back to Rawls' fairness doctrine. In order to be fair, the United States cannot take a stand on this and force people to go along. And it is a problem in a pluralistic society. We have to take that into account in our arguments and our answers to their arguments. We have to be able to say something. What's Dyer's book about? It was a godsend for me. It's about the Dred Scott decision. The last time we took an entire class of people and said, you're non-performers. You are non-citizens. In effect, your property. That was right before the Civil War. The group we defined out as blacks. Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, when that decision was rendered, was a man named Roger Taney, Roman Catholic, slave owner. Please. His book, Dyer's book, is about connecting those two Supreme Court decisions, the Dred Scott decision and Roe v. Wade. And now there is a connection. This is only the second time in U.S. history we have declassified a category of human beings and said, you don't count. Rights don't apply. In the case of Dred Scott, it was blacks. In the case of Roe v. Wade, it's the people. I think 2 times that's happened in U.S. history. Entire category of beings and said, bye. I used to tell students in January, you talk about tilt the playing field, you don't stand a chance. A one-cell organism versus an